Hello, everyone. Jim Stroud here, and I have a special treat for you. I have tracked down and got the permission of the powers that be to speak with the godfather himself of HR. Now, if you have been in HR for more than 30 seconds, you know who this guy is. You know who the godfather is. I'm going to let him introduce himself to you as well. Godfather, if you would, bless us with the knowledge of who you are.
I love it. So my name's Gerry Crispin, and without all that that he's throwing at you, I'm really just a lifelong student of staffing. So I'm old enough to have been around for long enough that I decided that I still am learning. And so as long as I keep learning, this is a fun place to be.
Very cool. Now, every year, your company, Career Crossroads, publishes a source of hire report, correct?
You betcha. It's Career X Roads in terms of the spelling, but we pronounce it Career Crossroads. And, I post slides or, reports there. They're all free. You don't even have to give me your name. You can just take them down. The last time I looked at SlideShare, is that it? There were about 3,700 downloads of this new one.
Hot information that recruiters love to read. What can you tell me about some of the latest stats? Where are all the candidates coming from these days?
Well, what was interesting about this one for 2012, I've been doing it for like 12, 13 years, is we're trying to get at what's flawed. When I look at this whole thing, it is a terribly flawed process, the way in which ATSs count source of hire, the way in which people report last IP address, and all of the other crap that goes on. There's a lot of flaws in all of that, and we certainly don't have all the time to deal with it. So let me give you some of the bottom lines. I tried to get at some of the traditional kinds of things. The one thing that probably stands out for a lot of people, and again, this is a slice of companies that did about 200,000 hires, so about 36 companies that did about 200,000 hires, large companies, that kind of thing. People don't realize how much they're getting from their own people. So internal movement and promotion is the critical thing that I think a lot of recruiting leaders need to make sure they are at that table and engaged, with their partners to better understand how that's taking place, how development is taking place, how movement is going, so that you can have better data about the gaps that you really need to go out into the wilderness to find. And this year, about 41% of all hires, all openings, were filled through internal movement. The next two biggest things are in the external area, and clearly referrals has been pretty stable, around 28% for a number of years now. And job boards is 20%, actually down a little bit from last year, but still very significant for those people who have been claiming that job boards are dying. The biggest problem with any of this data is that there isn't any true one source that stands on its own. So if you think about referrals, for example, how does somebody actually get a referral? And increasingly, somebody might find a lead on a job board and say, wow, that's an interesting company. I wonder if I know anybody there. And go to LinkedIn and go, do I know anybody there? And they find out, and in fact, they do. Some people they went to school with. So they call them up, they engage them, they get that person to be their employer referral, and lo and behold, when push comes to shove, what's attributed as the source of that hire is referral. But underneath it, they used a phone. They use social media.
Right.
There may have been a job board involved somewhere, and what we really need to do if we're a staffing leader in any reasonable company is to examine this channel and the degree to which some things are more closely aligned. And so we try to get at that this year. So there's several slides where it says, okay, what are the underlying things to social media? And what are some of the underlying things to referrals, so that we know the mix that companies seem to perceive are bolstering that particular source of hire.
Very interesting.
I find it fascinating. Of course, over the years, things like direct sourcing and recruiter-initiated activities has risen significantly because we've been bringing in those third-party folk into our corporation and reducing our external agency hires in our culture. But in other cultures like the UK, they're still probably representing between 60 and 70% of all hires. So, anybody who's trying to assume that the way you do it here in the U.S. is the way they do it anywhere else is going to quickly realize that that's just not true. Social media they attribute about 3.5% this year of the hires to social media, but underlying, again, all these other sources is a growing use of social media. Just as many years ago, phones started giving way to email, which started giving way to, again, on and on. The communication tools are shifting and continue to evolve.
So someone could look at your data then and say, okay, this is a combination of various factors. It's not particularly one magic bullet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whereas, 15, 20 years ago, the magic bullets were all kind of separate. So about 25% or 28% in 1997 was due to print.
Wow.
So what happened is you wait till Sunday, you look at the paper, you pick off, the jobs you want to apply to, you stick your resume in an envelope, you send it.
Wow.
Now, and that was 15 years ago. That's not like a lifetime. That was just 15 years ago. So things continue to change, and if you're really cool as a leader in staffing, you're going to have to think about what that means in terms of how you invest your dollars and how that shifts. And we did ask folks because a lot of this data, I think, would probably take us way too long, but I can tell you that, if you skip to the bottom line, what companies are saying is that in 2012 they're going to improve their employee referral programs. Why? Because it's not just the employee who's referring, it's the ability to get or engage candidates to come in and get referred. So candidate-initiated referrals will show, I think, a significant rise with some of the new tools that I'm seeing out there, like Get Referred that Jibe has. But, JobVite and others have been for quite a while telling people who are candidates, hey, here's the people in the job that you're looking at, right? Mm-hmm. So increasing social media and LinkedIn source of hire channels will also increase. But think about LinkedIn now, where it's supposed to be a social media site. But at the same time, the data they were telling me is that one of the two main ways that companies were using LinkedIn was to post jobs.
Right.
So that's silly, or not, as the case may be. There's nothing wrong with that. But then to assume that social media is on the rise when, in fact, you're getting jobs, people who are coming through job postings on LinkedIn just doesn't make a lot of sense. You need to really understand what's beneath some of that. Companies are going to continue to invest in sourcing. I think sourcing finally, certainly at SourceCon I could see that as well, is finally not only accepted and stable, but I think increasingly becoming very robust in how we're thinking about it, the quality of it, and how we're rewarding sourcers who are doing this higher level kind of work equal to full service recruiters. I think companies certainly are going to try to decrease the dependency on job boards, and what I'm seeing is that the shift in money from some of the name boards to more of the aggregate sites like an Indeed, and even strong stability over many years for sites like Craigslist that people just love and use. I think that we're going to have to see better tools on the part of recruiters, because when we talk about mobile becoming a very key issue, I ask questions like, well, do you, as a corporation, do you then subsidize, the smartphone for the recruiter? Costs more to use more. So if you're not subsidizing, then maybe those recruiters aren't willing to spend that money out of their own pocket, and so they're using cheaper kind of approaches relative to the text messaging and a bunch of the other stuff that's out there. As well as, recruiters need tools like, whether it be contracts with some of the social media sites or what have you. And then I think the other thing that we're seeing but haven't been able to measure yet is the extent to which talent communities, in fact, will become part of this new way, like a holding pen in between leads and prospects and, candidates. Can we identify enough of the people we'll eventually want to hire that we can engage them in a series of activities that give us a better relationship with them? That's going to be really interesting from my point of view. And, of course, I think we're always going to be sharpening our branding efforts, particularly with diversity. And I see this year definitely with the disabled community.
Sure. Let me get you to look into your crystal ball for a second. And Facebook is like the golden carrot that all companies want to mine for talent because it just has so many people in there. And they have tools, of course, like Be Known and other tools like that sort of work on top of Facebook. But when I look at a Facebook profile page and click on the info tab, and I see their name and where they work and a little information about that, how easy would it be for Facebook to say, you know what, we're going to just shut down the whole recruiting thing down by some kind of way enabling that information tab to be searchable directly from our page, and so give us all the money, and they could easily cut out everybody else. Do you think they would do that, or why haven't they done it?
They might if they're stupid. I think they might do it, and I think a lot of people get stupid when they start thinking about lots of money in recruiting. But the moment they try to become the 800-pound gorilla is when everybody goes, I don't think I want to spend that much money on something everybody else is doing. Our culture is really focused on getting an edge and doing something that not everybody is doing or can do. So in the use of Facebook, I see significant growth, particularly in a counterintuitive approach, which basically says, look, if I'm looking for purple squirrels, the place they probably are is on Facebook because they got so many numbers. So rather than trying to reach everybody, I should be trying to reach the purple squirrels. And I can run a fairly inexpensive campaign right now on Facebook identifying all the females in engineering and high-speed packaging in Southern California. And now I need to think about what is the kind of message I could put in front of that specific set of purple squirrels that would allow some portion of them to say hi and begin engaging me outside of Facebook, but Facebook becomes the source of that. And I think we're going to see those kinds of creative notions and tools that will help us do that. And I don't think, as opposed to, Facebook becoming the new monster, or LinkedIn, in effect, replacing all job boards or whatever it might be. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be certainly a lot of hype out there. And I believe Facebook and or, similar kinds of tools out there are going to have huge potential value for us because we're going to increasingly see that as the Internet. And it's really then a matter of how do we mine it over time in a way that's going to add value to our recruiting process. I just don't see Facebook getting into this business big time. But if they did, they will obviously scare a few other people out of the way.
Sure. One last question for the sake of rumor control.
Yeah.
I've heard that Monster is open to being acquired. And I've heard a rumor that you were thinking of buying Monster. Is that true?
Hey, I love that. If I could afford it, I would. And the reason why is because I think I know more about how it should change than they do. And the reason why is because I spend a lot of my time with companies listening to what they're trying to accomplish rather than try to invent stuff that they actually don't need. And I think that's true with a lot of the vendors out there. I think many of them continue to focus on priorities that have nothing to do with really serving the community of employers and job seekers who honestly want to broker their talents in a good, solid, honest, knowledgeable way. And when I look at the quality when I look at the process maps of most companies, they're making it harder for candidates to engage them, and I'm talking about qualified candidates now. So because they've got these problems with people who are unqualified, they're screwing up their ability to reach out and engage quality candidates. And I think that's such a mistake. I think we really need to think more deeply about the playing field where the two operate, and we really need to think more deeply about the experience that candidates now and in the future will have that will make them want to come and work for companies of any size. Right now I'm seeing more and more really quality people saying it's so much of a pain in the neck to get into one of these companies and succeed in that company that I'd rather sit here and go work for a company that's only got 50 employees.
Wow. Gerry Crispin of Career Crossroads, a.k.a. the Godfather of HR. Thank you for being on the Jim Stroud Show.
My pleasure.
Last week I gave a webinar on how to recruit with video. If you missed it, check the description of this video for a link there and check it out and let me know what you think. Thank you so much, Jennifer and Steph, for your kind comments regarding that webinar. Also, I want to give a shout out to a few people. Hassana Rude. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's your shout out. Also, shout outs to the Layoff Coach and to D. Williams. Thank you guys so much for your support. But you know what? My favorite tweet of the week, maybe of all times, might go to Tiger Patrick. Check out what he said. It made me laugh out loud. Patrick, thank you so very much.